Hi, welcome to Pinkboard. Today we are going to see the summary of the lesson, the interview. So here this lesson is given in two parts. First part we will find about the interviews and the opinions given by various writers about interview. And in the second part we will come across the interview which is taken by a Hindu reporter Mukund Batmanabhan to Umberto Eco, a person who published a novel and which is sold for 10 million copies. So that's why his interview is given over there as part 2. Come, let's see what is there in part 1. Actually, we find what is an interview in the first two paragraphs. So it is said that it was invented 130 years ago, and now journalism is nothing without interview. So most probably we could able to find one or other interviews in journalism when we take the mass media, TV, communication. So we will find that one or other interview plays a major role over there. And here every literate, every educated person definitely would have come across an interview in their lifetime. It is, they might have read that in the book or in the newspaper, or they would have watched that in the TV. So somehow every literate would have come across an interview in their lifetime, and several thousand celebrities are interviewed. Some of them can be interviewed repeatedly and some only once. And here the function, method, and merits of interview definitely varies. So the questions what we ask to a famous personality like a cinestar cannot be asked to a writer. So the purpose of having interview to one person differs to other. The same way the method how we conduct the interview will also differs. At the same time the merits, the benefits what we could able to have through the interview will also differ respectively. Some of them used to say that it is the highest form of truth, that is, as the person is directly reporting through their words what it is. So here some people used to say that as we could able to get it from them directly, that seems to be the truth. And moreover, it is said to be an art because in front of mic, in front of TV, in during live shows and all, when people are giving interview, naturally, okay, we cannot express whatever we feel. On such case it is considered as an art. And sometimes some celebrities used to feel that they are victimized. Okay, they are locked by the situation and they couldn't able to answer whatever they wish. And personal questions can also be asked at the time of interview. So some people, some celebrities especially, don't like it. And some people used to believe that it is diminishing their fame. Okay, once there was a belief that if we take photograph, okay, the age of the person might reduce, that is the longevity of life might reduce. Okay, they will die very soon, we should not take so many photographs. In the same way, when we give interview, naturally our fame will get reduced or it diminishes, reduces. So that is what the opinion some people used to have. And we will come across the opinion of various other writers here in the first part. When you take V.S. Naipaul, what he has said is usually people are wounded by the questions of the interviewer. Okay, and immediately they'll be short tempered and they will shout at the person who is asking questions. So that's how here he has stated that we will lose a part of ourselves when we try to answer the questions of the interviewer. And Lewis Carroll, okay, what he has stated is it is just a horror of a interviewer. Okay, a horror in the sense extreme sort of fear. So here it is said like horror of being lionized. When I go out, when I go to a market, when I go to a shopping mall, I feel like I am pointed out by others could able to identify me, that I don't want. Okay, that is the meaning of lionized, becoming popular, okay, becoming as a celebrity. okay, treated as a celebrity. I don't want that. Okay, that's what he says. And he used to shout, rebel is he will go against his friends and interviewers and petitioners who are asking sign from Lewis Carroll. So later what happened is, through his successful writings, through his successful publications, naturally he answered them, okay, how much of time he required, okay, to give such wonderful masterpieces. Okay, so naturally, whomever used to approach him asking for some sign, or that is autograph, or asking him to give an interview, got satisfied by his publication. So that we could able to find of Lewis Carroll. Next comes Rudyard Kipling. So here, Rudyard Kipling expresses an attitude, okay, over the interviewer in a way like contemporary attitude. Okay, so here what he tries to say is he wants people, and here once it was reported that his wife has mentioned in the diary that my life has been ruined because of the questions of the interviewer, and here he answers in a way like talking something to somebody, to the reporters, telling that conducting an interview is something which is immoral, it's a crime, it's an offense, and it's an assault, it is considered to be a murder. And here she also points out that no respectable person will ask for it, and if a person is giving an interview, okay, he is not at all considered to be a respectful person. That's how she stated. But this Rudyard Kipling, after few years, okay, became an interviewer and interviewed Mark Twain. And when you take H.G. Wells, H.G. Wells used to say that this interview is an ordeal. The meaning of ordeal is suffering. It's a suffering. But he used to be a frequent interviewer. Very often he used to give interviews. After 40 years, what happened is he became an interviewer and he interviewed Joseph Stalin. So initially we could able to find them showing their attitude as if they don't want to be interviewed. Later they turns into be a interviewer. So that we could able to see through all their comments. And here Saul Bellow. Okay, Saul Bellow, what he used to do is he used to show very less interest. Okay, and he describes this interview as something which is obstructing our windpipe, okay, having thumbprints over the windpipe in the sense. So here I would like to talk something but I can't, okay, somebody presses over my throat, stopping me to proceed further. Okay, that's how I used to feel when I am interviewed. So because I couldn't able to express whatever we feel, that's what he comments about. And when you take Dennis Brain, what he said is usually people used to give interview, and in the interviews they used to target at the contemporaries. Contemporaries in the sense those who are having same fame like the interviewee. So what happens is if he wants to answer somebody but he don't want to do it directly through interview, he would like to do that. And here, what Dennis Brain is telling us, naturally, as we are learning so much of information from the person, the interviewer, through his questions, he attains a par. Okay, because if we are having a if we are happen to see a interview of a person, okay, naturally we will have few questions to be asked to the person. If the interviewer is asking the same question what you long to ask, we will have respect over the person. Okay, that is what is represented here, because he is nothing but the voice of the public, he is nothing but the voice of the fans. And that's how here the interviewer is considered to be a person who is holding a good position with good power over the person, that is over the interviewee who is there. And this is what is given there in the first part, where we will come across the opinions of various people about interview and how they later turned into a interviewer. Okay, the second part is an extract which is taken from an interview of Umberto Eco. So here we will first see who is Umberto Eco. He is a professor who is at the University of Bologna in Italy. So he is a scholar basically, and his area, major work where he used to do is semiotics. Okay, semiotics is uh, related to science, SIGN. Okay, that sign. Okay, related to science and symbols. He is a person who has given variety in his writings, like he has written literary interpretation, aesthetic, fiction, children's books, essays, academic text, and newspaper articles. But though he has written variety of things like this, yet he was known for his publication of the work named The Name of the Rose. Okay, it was published in 1980, and that made him to throw to the world, to show the world who Umberto Eco is. What is the reason behind this publication, or what made him to attain this stardom? As this particular book, this particular novel sold was around 10 million copies. Okay, so 10 million copies were sold of this novel. So that's why he was naturally interviewed by so many people. One among them is Mukund Badmanabhan from Hindu. So here, a few questions Mukund Padmanabhan asked to the writer, that is Umberto Eco, to which Umberto Eco answered patiently. So here I have segregated the questions and the answers given by both of them, because you could able to get an idea of who Mukund Padmanabhan is, what sort of questions he asked, and how far you could able to imagine him as a reporter, and how what sort of questions will be asked by such interviewers. So that's why here I have given the questions in one slide and the answers which are given by Umberto Eco on the other slide. So here, when you take Mukund Padmanabhan's interview, he starts with a quote of David Lodge. He says like, I can't understand how one man can do all the things he does. Okay, so here he is starting with a note like how a person can give variety in his writing. We saw him as a person who writes a children's book, a literary interpretation, aesthetic, novels, and then books on semiotics, scholarly works, journals, and all those. So that's how here he starts his conversation asking Umberto Eco, that is, how one man can give variety in his writing. And then he asked about, you are writing something in an informal way. Okay, informal way in the sense how we talk to our friends, how do we talk to our relatives, not in a formal communication. So in an informal way, you are giving your writings. Okay, and here usually the academic whatever we learn in the part of theory will always be dry and boring, but you are conveying the same idea or the message in an informal way that makes naturally others to understand your concept well and good. Okay, how you happen to take this style, whether it naturally comes to you, like that he asked. And here, though you are a person who published variety of works, you are known for your novel. Okay, when I go and ask somebody who's Umberto Eco, naturally they will say that he is a novelist. Okay, are you bothered about it? Okay, are you not feeling that you are not represented for your children's books or your essays, rather than you are called as a novelist? Does that worries you? He asked. Well, because comparing with the novels and the other literary works, he has written around 40 scholarly works, over 40, more than 40, but only 4 novels he has written. But he was known as a novelist, not as a scholar who writes literary essays. He asked that question. Were you puzzled by the success of your novel? He asked. Okay, you didn't expect that your novel will be sold around 10 million copies. Is it so? He asked. And the last question was about what is the reason for the success of your novel? Is it because it talks about the medieval history? Okay, is that the reason? So this is how he tried to get from Umberto Eco, by asking questions in such a way so that he could able to learn the secret behind the success. So how Umberto Eco answers, and what are the secrets which are shared by Umberto Eco, that's let's see. So here what Umberto Eco is telling us, naturally, people used to say that I am writing in various style. I'm writing children's books, essays, this and that, but according to me, I'm writing the same thing, because whenever you take my work, whatever the work it might be, you could able to find the ethics in it. Okay, when you take even the children's book, I used to talk about the peace, non-violence, the moral values. Naturally all my works has these. Okay, so when you ask me the question like this, I will say that I am not trying out different sort of things, I am doing the same thing. And one of the secret which you shared is, I used to eliminate the empty space in the sense, for example, if we are traveling in a bus, okay, from the starting point till the ending point, we will not have much in our mind. By the time we will not learn, we will not read, we will not think about the things which we need to think about. Okay, rather than that, after reaching, what we will be doing there, whom we will be meeting, so some unessential things will be there in our mind. So what he says is, I used to work in those empty spaces. Though I will be sitting quietly over there, I'll be thinking over and over what I have read, and I'll be imagining what could be my next work. So for this, he gives an explanation telling that, for example, from first floor to third floor. Okay, so here he was giving his interview on the third floor. He is telling the reporter, so you might have taken few seconds to reach from first floor to third floor. Within that time, okay, instead of waiting simply for you, I wrote some work. So that's how he used to say that I eliminate the empty spaces in my life. I used to work even on the empty space. And when you when it comes for the dissertation or my thesis, as you said, like, I am having an informal way of communicating, informal way of writing. So how it came to me is, when I presented my thesis, okay, I didn't say what is the conclusion or what I found out. Rather than that, how I started my research and what are the difficulties I faced over there, and I came back and corrected it again and I proceeded with. So that's how I started to say in the form of story my research, and that's how it became successful, he said. And I know my friend Roland Barthes, okay, he used to feel a lot that he couldn't able to publish any of the novel. He remains as an essayist, but I am not going to feel for it. That's why I tried with it, he says. And it naturally comes to me. And you ask me a question, he says, that am I puzzled for the success of the novel? Okay, he says, like, not at all. I am not at all puzzled. I am not amused by mm, the success. Okay, naturally, the journalists and the publishers who were not expecting, okay, they alone were puzzled. And here he says that he stated it with an example, telling that, for example, Miami Vice or Emergency Room, something like a thriller, if we are watching it every day, okay, in the night time when no one is around, naturally we will not have the curiosity. If we are watching it once in a while, okay, we will have the thriller over there. So in the same way, okay, my work seems to be somewhat different from the other usual publications which was published in these days, and that's why it happened to be a success. I think like that, he says. And even the American publisher, what she expected is, she ordered for 3,000 copies. Okay, but in there, that is in the country, it sold around 2 to 3 million copies. The publisher, the American publisher, didn't even expect that. So my publishers are puzzled by the publication. Okay, it is not at all myself. And here I don't know what is the reason, and I could able to say, like, if at all I have published the same work 10 years before or 10 years later, naturally this may not have reached this much height. So he says, like, the success of my novel is truly a mystery. I couldn't able to conclude what happened and how it was. So here, this is what is about the lesson interview. We could able to find two parts. First part is entirely about the opinion of various people, various writers over interview, and it is taken by Penguin Books of Interview, which is an interlude, which is an introduction for that book. Okay, so here we had it as the first part, and the second part is the communication between the interview between Mukund Batmanabhan and Umberto Ego. I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you.